Hello YouTube. This is going to be a video kind of showing a new method for memorizing a 3x3 that I just learned. And I really haven't seen it done by any cubers. I'm not saying that it hasn't been done by cubers, I just haven't seen anything on it, so I decided I'd make a video. So basically, there's two ways that I know how to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, and I'm going to be kind of using this one method that I use most of the time. But for M2, it's kind of similar. So you got your M2 method, where it's, it's probably the most common method for edges or something. Anyways, and then you got your Opackman corners, where you use the Y perm, except without the F and the, whoops, no F at the end. Anyways, so that's the Opackman method, and then there's the method I use. Like, I know the M2 and corners, but I haven't gotten that good at it yet. So I still use this beginner method where you use setup moves to bring edges into this position, and then you use the T permutation to, swap them, so you get that piece there, and then you bring more pieces in, and then you keep using the T permutation. You also use the T permutation to bring corners to here, and then swap kind of thing. Anyways, it's a really easy method. So I'm going to kind of be using that method. So anyways, the first way that I learned how to memorize a cube was to make word pairs. So with the method I use, each piece is just one letter. So you get here D, T, M, S, G, R, L, P, C, V, W. That's the that's the lettering system I was using. And if you use Opackman M2 edges, you just have like 2 letters for each side, or each 1 letter for each sticker. So yeah, anyways, it doesn't matter. And so basically you create word pairs. So I'm assuming that you guys already know kind of a bit about how to solve or should be able to solve a 3x3 blindfolded using the word pairs method, or it'll be very difficult to understand when I'm trying to, the concept here. So you know how everything's like a cycle, so it's just this piece to this piece to this piece to this piece kind of thing. So you'd see, okay, this is the D position, and here's the G. So if we had something piece that needed to go from D to G, we'd go dog, standard. But sometimes, while we're making our word pairs, come up with like a weird combinations of letters, and it takes you a couple seconds to remember it. And also, you got a lot of gibberish. Like, the words that come out of making word pairs like that are completely random most of the time and have little to no connection to the other words. And sometimes this is like a really, probably never gonna happen example, but like something like the dog, hat, and its owner. Like, I know that's like never gonna happen kind of words, but like, let's just say you have like something where it kind of works, like the dog, hat, and then you have this random word that doesn't really fit into anything, and then its owner. So then sometimes when you're blindfolded, you kind of just remember the dog and its owner, but you forget the hat because it's kind of just an extra word. So anyways, yeah, there's kind of problems with it, and I'm not very good at it. Now, the method that I just learned how to use is, I was looking up some memorization techniques for memorizing cards, and I was like watching a bunch of videos on YouTube. But it's not for speed solving blind or anything to do with Rubik's Cubes. It's like in the World Memorization Championship. You got this you got to use techniques to memorize letters and numbers and cards and stuff. So it's kind of, there's these techniques, and I was listening to one of the techniques, and it was to turn each card into a person, and then have this, it's called a journey. So you walk, you start in your room, and then you go up the stairs, then through the hallway, then into the living room, and then into the kitchen, then up the stairs again, and then to the upstairs bedrooms and stuff. So basically you create a journey. So the first thing you need to do is come up with your journey. And this is basically, generally work good if it's in your house, and you recommend walking through this a couple times, but you come up with places in a room or individual rooms. So you go, okay, I'm going to start my room. So your room is the first room. Then you go down the hallway. So the hallway is the second room. Then down the stairs. Stairs is the third room, and then you got the living room. So, you know, your living room would be the third, and then you have something like the kitchen, and then you know, other stairs or something. It doesn't really matter as long as you have 12 rooms. So you need 12 rooms in this. It's like a journey. So you go one room, next room, next room, and you can't overlap. And it has to be in like a logical step. So you can't go just from like your room to the downstairs basement, because that's not like you don't skip that. You gotta like it's generally has to be a route that you actually take, and it doesn't need to be inside. It can be outside on like a walk that you do a lot, where it's like you go from this place to here, so then you just break it up into places. And anyways, you need 12 of them. 12 of them for this method anyway. Now for corners, I'm not going to get too much into corners. You could use this method for corners, but I don't. Basically, in the method that I use, I orient the corners first and then put them in using the T permutation, and it's easier to remember with taps. But edges, it's a few too many taps for really easiness. Like corners, it's only these 8, and most likely 1 or 2 of them is already solved, and it seems like it's an easier thing to do than all 12 edges, like dun, dun, dun. Anyways, so this is just for the edges, really. Now, then you want to make every edge a person. Now this is kind of hard to explain, but if you're doing M2, then you need to come up with 24 people. If you're using my method, you only need 12. So each piece has 1 letter. So basically you substitute every letter in your memorization scheme with a person. So I just have random people. I'm not going to really explain who these people are or anything, but so anyways, I come up with this. So this is person A, we'll say. So you have person A, person B, and then C, D, whatever. And these should be people that are either like relevant to your life, or you know a lot about, or people you hang out with a lot. So you make each edge, or in the M2 method, each sticker of each edge a person. Now, the way you run through this, I'll do a quick scramble. Alright, so the way you would run through this is you'd bring the cube into your orientation. If you're using M2, then you'll be looking at this sticker, but I use a method where I look at this sticker, so hopefully that can clear things up. So, I'd see this, I know immediately needs to go right here. So, basically, the person that you come up with for this edge, you place that person interacting or doing something in your first room. So you visualize the person, you see him in your first room. It can be whatever room you choose, whatever the place you choose, whatever. That person is in that room doing something memorable. And then you look, okay, that obviously goes right here. And this is, can't remember. Yeah, anyways, so you have this person, whoever, like when it's solved, whatever piece, like this just position, we'll say position. So this position has someone's name, and you know this person, and then you have that person interacting in your second room. And by that point you guys got it. So you go there, and you remember this person's interacting with that, then you go to there, and there, and there, or no, not there, So you go through and you do your cycle. And basically, you're sometimes going to have more than 12 things, in which case you just go back to the beginning, the first room again. But for the most part, it's not ever going to go past 12. It's not often when it goes past 12 anyway. And for corners, this is not applying to corners. You could use it for corners, but I find it easier to just tap. But yeah, this method really, it's insane like how fast you can remember, or at least how much faster I am able to remember things, where instead of making up a word for 2 letters that are, it's kind of annoying to make up a word, and then you got to remember that word, and then you got a bunch of gibberish, and it's kind of tough to remember gibberish. But for some reason, I can just play it back like a record, having people in a room. So I can remember certain people in certain rooms going through. So I like visualize in my head walking first room. Who's in that room? Well, person in position. This position's them, okay? Keep walking, going into my next room, and this should be like a place in your house, place that you really know, maybe even place you are at the moment. You go and you go, okay, who's there and what are they doing? You know, maybe you could have them saying something that's memorable, like something that that person said in real life, and then that like has something to do with the room that you've put them in. And it just, you walk through, you see that person, walking through that person. I know it's really kind of dumb and hard to explain, but, or kind of weird, I guess, having yourself walk through your house and see people as you're walking through, and then translate that back into a solve. But anyways, that's the concept. I got my personal best on this concept, and I've only been practicing for about an hour, so I mean, there's something there for sure. I can get I decided to just test it on the edges, so I just remembered all the edges, and then I stopped the timer the second I remembered, and then I put my blindfold on and I started solving it, and if I got it right, I'd keep the time, and if I didn't, well then, obviously I wouldn't keep it. But my best time to remember the edges was sub-minute, which is better for me. Usually I get like 2 minutes 40 seconds remembering edge pairs, like word pairs. So that's about 2.5 times faster, just this method. So if you guys are having a hard time finding a method that works, give this one a try. I think it's really awesome, and this is what the world-class memorizers in the World Memorization Championship use for remembering cards. Or at least I've seen like interviews and stuff, and they're trying to explain what they're doing, and yeah, most, like, the 2 people that I've seen that are like world champions or something, they both use this method, so it seems to be a pretty solid method. And they're using it to remember cards, obviously not a 3x3, but yeah, I think this method would be pretty good if you had like a huge amount of rooms, and then you just, you have as much time as you possibly want to remember those rooms, and then you come up with like the 12 people, right? And I think this would be pretty good for multi-blind, like really good for multi-blind, because you could use a setup where you have quite a few rooms, like enough rooms to solve almost 2 cubes worth of just remembering. So you got like a big base, and then have one set of names for the first cube, a next set of names for maybe like 5 different sets of names for 5 cubes, and then you'd overlap. You go, okay, go back to this, and then so you get like a kind of, so your first cube has nothing to do with the same people or places as the second cube, and then your third cube has completely different people and places than the 2 cubes before it. So then by the time you get to your 5th cube, all of the cubes are unique, and you can remember. You can just be like, okay, I'm on this cube, and it has, these people in these places. So then after 5, you can go back. So I'm thinking, maybe that'd be a pretty good multi-blind method instead of word pairs. I don't know, a lot of word pairs would start getting a little bit annoying. Guess if you use the Roman room method. I don't really use the Roman room method. I just try to remember random edge pairs, because I can't visualize things like that, but I find that visualizing people in rooms helps out. So yeah, give it a you guys are having a hard time remembering word pairs. This is a lot easier in my opinion. My first successful attempt using word pairs was 16 solves. My first successful attempt using people in places, got the first one, got the second one, got the third one. I've gotten every single one spot on, except like the one thing, again, getting used to any method, is that sometimes you have just 2 pieces that are like swapped. Just they go into each other, so they're totally not part of any of the cycles. If you guys have blindfold solve, you know that there's cycles and stuff, so you kind of have to be cautious, I guess, of that. So yeah, sometimes just getting used to this, you might forget two people. You're like, oh, did these two people were in there, and are they just solved or what? So sometimes it's kind of, you gotta keep cautious of that. But besides those little errors, which are not terribly big at all, I've had 100% success with this method. So yeah, thanks for watching.